We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pixelated Echoes, where we discuss all the pixels and echoes of our opinions. This is episode 4, and I'm 3-Bit. Welcome to the show, everybody. Join us, sit back, enjoy some coffee on this lovely Sunday evening. We are already getting some people jumping into our chat, so that's pretty cool. So welcome everyone. Appreciate you coming on by. We hit 100 subscribers in just
Nice.
3 episodes. So that's pretty amazing. First off, your support is not required, but it is always appreciated. If we had like 3 subscribers, me, Fuzzy, and Mav, that's a party. So the fact that you guys decided to join us is always appreciated. Just imagine like 100 people in a room. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot. So thank you. There's a lot of plans for this channel. So if you want to see us evolve and you're ready for some pixelated content, keep with us. And to our audio listeners, we love you as well. Gotta put some more episodes on there for sure. But we can't do this show without my co-hosts, right? The racing prodigy Mario Andretti is really jealous of this guy's racing skills, right? The man, he was created by Pat Sullivan in 1919, and he decided, I am no longer Felix the Cat. I am now reborn as the one and only Fuzzy Belvedere. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks for having me on, man. Man, it's been a pretty wild weekend. Pretty wild weekend on Twitter as usually, but yeah, for the most part, glad to be here. Thanks for everybody that tunes into us. Um, Man, it's gaming right now. I think it's in a pretty good space, just considering like I bring my Steam Deck on a trip, and it's like, oh, I can break out and play Sifu or Hades, and or do like right now I have that temporary Game Pass app on it, or the
Yep.
beta app, I guess you could say. And it's like, oh, I can just go through that library while I'm at it too. Use the hotel Wi-Fi. But man, glad to be here. Yeah, we got some interesting stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, for sure. And Psycho, he's in the chat and he said you're up to 130 now. So that's cool, man.
Oh wow,
We
nice.
we we have not done, it's not like we did like 50 episodes to get like 100 subs. We've done like 4. So that's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
appreciate everybody in here. Before we jump into these topics, I always like to start with our weekend. I just got back from playing like pickleball for the first time. So that's been fun.
Nice.
I realized like, dang, I need to do more cardio. Like I do more like weightlifting stuff. But when I was like running around in pickleball, I was like, whew, this thing is definitely killing me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So we'll definitely got to do more cardio in my life. That is coming. But yeah, what have you been up to, Fuzzy? What games you've been playing?
Actually, more so than games, my because earlier in life I used to take the wife to like all the NASCAR races, even though she's not really a NASCAR fan, and you know, was able to take her along, or she, decided to allow me to take her along to the Xbox what was it, the Fan Fest a couple of years ago. But now it's her turn to kind of drag me around places, and she's been a big horror fan, as far as like everything from zombies to like some of the Japanese style flicks, where I think the closest thing that a lot of people might be familiar with would be like The Ring, was kind of like a remake of like some of the original stuff that they do over there. And she's like big into that stuff, and I'm into it a lot of times, but some of the campy stuff, it's like, but as long as it's like more than just jump scares, I'll watch it. But this time around, went there. Ironside was there, and love them from
Yes.
Starship Troopers, love them from Scanners. What was the other one with Arnold, um, that they did the remake of? Oh crap!
Oh,
Now,
the latest Splinter Cell, like not Blacklist, but the
well, yeah, the before Blacklist, it was like Well, the
Convict
original Splinter Cell,
con-
and then the one was it Conviction or something like that.
Conviction, I think.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I got a chance to take a picture with him, get him to sign like one of like the original Splinter Cell photo and stuff like that, and was asking him about, hey, is Ubisoft still calling, or are you still able to do the voice? And he's like, oh,
Mm.
I'm getting too old for this, but he
Oh,
he let me in on a little secret, but I'll tell you about it today. But unfortunately, it's not video game related exactly, but there is something in the works. But
cool.
yeah, it
Heck
was
yeah.
it was fun to just go around and then and, like even though it's a like a Monster Mania con is what they call it, and it's a horror fest. There's still video game stuff there because there are horror video games, and then there are artists there that either create statues or other artwork. And I bought some like oil pastels. Got Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Venom, and then went back and bought now I can't not Atreus. The one from Hades, but basically
Oh, okay.
Hades' son. I can't remember his
Yeah,
name now,
yeah.
but got him. And then for one of my sons, got Pokemon. Some of the like his favorite characters and things like that. Just for like little wall things to have. Hopefully, at some point in the back. But yeah, it was fun walking around. A good bit of walking. Some got to see some angry people waiting in line for other celebrities and
Mm,
stuff like that. And
yeah.
but it is what it is. But it's definitely a fun time. Like if I encourage anybody that's into horror stuff, look up some of like well, Monster Mania is one of them. They have shows in Jersey and Baltimore or in Maryland and stuff. And there's like tons of them across the country. And some of your favorite horror stars, scream queens, some of the axe murderers and things like that. You'll be able to get their official signature or get to take a picture with them in costume and stuff like that. So it's some fun times.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember I went to Dragon Con. Um, that's a big convention down here in Atlanta, and
Mhm.
they had the whole cast of Gotham. Um, so it was Bruce Wayne there, and I saw him like, oh my gosh, he's right over there. And but they were charging. They were charging a lot. I was like, I like you, but I don't know if I like you that much. Yeah. I was
Some celebrities, it's a pretty penny. Some are extremely reasonable. Like
mm,
I would say like if you're getting a photo that's autographed, even with a personal message and a selfie, and it's like under $100. I mean, a lot of them are even a lot less than that, but I'll just say 100 for like normal sake.
yeah.
That's awesome. But then there are some, and it's no slight to them. Some of them are big enough stars. It's going to be double, sometimes triple that.
Yeah.
I really wanted. I see. I'm bad with actors and actresses' names. I really wanted Peggy Bundy or Leela from like Futurama. I really wanted her signature,
Oh,
but it
she
was
was
like,
there. Oh, dang.
yeah, but ooh, it was. I'm like, I want it, but I don't want to spend that much. And it's not a knock against her. It's like that kind of money right now, I could look at getting another console or
Yeah. You can get some like see, you get that special SpongeBob Xbox that's out there.
exactly.
Which sold out by the way in like 3
Yeah.
minutes. I saw that thing and I was like, yeah, I really want that. I was like, I was just curious. Let me just look at it and it was
Hmm.
sold out like immediately. I was like, dang. But I feel like that's going to be a scalper's console for sure.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, but it looked fire. It looked fire. I
Yeah.
remember last thing we'll talk about conventions, but like when I was at some weird things happened at conventions. That's one thing. But I remember I was in a line for I was just curious. They have secret sort of convention or like parties and stuff at Dragon Con. Like you can there was like a Mad Max party I accidentally stumbled upon. Like it was pretty epic. Like I just walked in some room
Hmm.
and it was like I don't know what they're called the Mad Boys or something or
Yeah.
something like that where all the bald head people from Mad Max.
Yeah.
Basically, they were all on a stage, and most of the crowd was just characters from Mad Max. It was like a lot of
Hmm.
Furiosas, and they it was the Furiosa like as a DJ, and they were basically just like it was the soundtrack of Mad Max, but it was a
Oh
dubstep
wow.
version. Everyone was like, I was like, where did I stumble upon? That was
That's awesome.
it was awesome though. That was really cool. But you can stumble upon a really cool party like that,
Hmm.
and then there was one line. No one was telling me what the line was for. I was like, what's this line for? And I'm like, oh. So I just stood in this line, and then eventually I go in these doors,
Hmm.
and then before you know, it was a furry party, and that was another story.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, people coming up to me as furries, and then
Like,
they
where's your costume?
I was like, oh yeah, I left it at home. I don't know. It was like this one guy who came up to me and he didn't like talk. I guess that's a thing like that they
Hmm.
do. They just emote. So he was like this. He was like just waving at me. I was like, oh, like how are you? And he was just like, I was just like, I gotta get out of here. This is freaking awkward. I was like, oh gosh. But yeah, it could go either way, these
Yeah.
conventions. But I'm glad you had a good time at them. Um,
Yeah.
what games you been playing? Have you just been at that convention for the most part?
For the most part, but I did get some time to play Sifu on my Steam Deck. Played a little bit of Hades. Played. I loaded up not Gran Turismo. I loaded
Hmm.
up Forza Horizon 5, and it's a little bit harder to play on the Steam Deck to at least collect the cars. Like I can do stuff on the thing if I'm just going to be doing like the basic races, but to be able to jump back and forth like between like the Mexico map or like the Mexico map and then like the Hot Wheels map and stuff like that to get some extra points on hotel Wi-Fi, not so much. So
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, I'll just wait until I get home to collect the cars. But what else did I play? There's a game called Waves, which is
Hmm.
almost like it's not really a rhythm game, but it's kind of like a rhythm game with like a ball thing where you have to group them together and then they either disappear or explode or do certain things. So it's like you're trying to clear the level and not have too many of accumulation of like these little bubble things all around. So it's kind of like it was a well, long story short, the developer for it passed,
Hmm.
and in his will, he made it so his games that were listed on Steam were free. So I think it's like Waves and Waves 2, I think is the other one. But the Waves 2 doesn't really work on the Steam Deck all that well. He was working at one point to, the compatibility on it, but the first one works flawlessly. And you get to use like the touchpads and stuff like that to
That was
play it.
cool.
And it's just like an awesome like time kill game. And like there are certain ones where it's like you can do it against a timer, or you can see if you can beat your high score. So there's like 16 different modes, and each one has like a certain spin to it kind of thing. And that like you start off playing for like 30 minutes, and 3 hours later it's like, oh wow, all right, I beat my high score on this, and I tried this, and it's like 3 hours later, and it's like where the time goes. So
That's awesome. I've been playing. Also, I need a Steam Deck. That I really want one. Um, I've been playing like NBA 2K.
oh yeah.
I've been jumping into that world. My first goal in that game was to get the most 3 pointers for my character. So I like to break the NBA records in the game. So I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'll just get the most 3 pointers because I usually make a character that's insanely good at 3 pointers and sucks at everything else. Um, and once I achieved that goal, I was like, I'm gonna demolish Wilt Chamberlain's goal of beating 100 points. So I got there. It was freaking hard, but I got like 114 points in one game.
Oh, wow.
So I beat his record, and it feels good, man. I like making a character and then demolishing people. And difficulty
Mhm.
doesn't matter, you know. Put that sucker on easy, and I could play hundreds of matches where I never lose, and it just
Yeah.
does something to me. And I was joking with my fiance, and that it is definitely the positive affirmations game,
Yeah.
because when you do well in the story mode for your character, you get all these celebrities in the game like praising you. You get like Mark Cuban, like, "Wow, you did a terrific game," and then you get all these social media posts like, "Wow, you broke all these records." It's definitely a positive affirmation. I was like,
Yeah.
"Wow, I feel good." Like, yeah, I did shoot 100 points. I did break some records. You guys are right. I was like, this is a feel good game right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was enjoying it. I bought it before it was in Game Pass.
Uh,
Didn't know that was gonna be a thing. I should have suspected.
yeah.
Yeah.
It at least like from here on out, because it's coming out after they put like 25 in there. You own it outright. You can always go back and be like, all right, I want to redo the playoffs kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. I think the last 2K I bought was 21 or 22. I can't remember right now, but
Mm.
I don't buy them every year. I only buy them when Sixers actually make it into the playoffs kind of thing. And like, and then as long as they make sure that they have Iverson accessible as a player in
Yep.
there, I'll definitely make sure I buy it on those years. But if Iverson isn't really highlighted in there, it's like, yeah, I can hold off. Or oh, the Sixers didn't make it to the playoffs, or they made it and then lost before the final round.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Could change that history, because Iverson definitely deserve better in this league for sure.
Yeah.
We got some people in the chat before I get to the first topic. We got my baby Izzy. Hey there. We got Omi Tony. Says what up, 3-bit fuzzy in chat. Hey Tony. Tony. He's being pretty active in these conversations. I really appreciate it. So thanks, man.
Yeah.
He says, "Do you guys follow the Oscars? Watching it with the fam. Hope Godzilla gets a recognition." Um,
Be
I
nice.
hope so too, just because I heard a lot of the visual effects artists were really good in that movie on such a low budget. And we're gonna be talking about budgets later on. That's actually a
Yeah.
great segue. um, so yeah, we're gonna be talking about AAA game development and indie darlings outperforming AAA games. So I guess this sort of talks about development, sort of like sustainability, and indie games outperforming a lot of different titles. So I did want to bring this up because I did want to bring up this specific man, because he's been making the rounds again for newer comments he's made. So I'm gonna pull up something a little here.
Mm.
Um, so we have our man Sean Layden. He was the previous president of PlayStation, but back in September 2021, he had an article with Bloomberg. He was being interviewed by Jason Schreier. And I have the quote up on the screen, but for our audio listeners, he says, "Game development seems to double in cost every platform," Layden said, noting that his budgets for recent big PlayStation 4 titles each hit $100 million. "If we can't stop the cost curve from going up, all we can do is try to de-risk it. That puts you in a place where you're incentivized towards sequels." He predicted that PlayStation 5 games will cost $200 million to make, and that prices will continue to grow exponentially from there. Now, again, note this was back in 2021, but he did have other interviews where he talked about game sustainability and budgets exceeding even before 2021. And pretty much everything he said is before Jim Ryan has pretty much come true. With titles like Spider-Man 2, for example. Spider-Man 2 costs not 200 million like he estimated here in this post, but even more than that. It was $315 million in budget to development costs of that game. The original Spider-Man had a budget of around 90 million.
Mhm.
So with this in mind, you get a game like Pal World, which sold around 19 million copies with a budget of $6 million. That is about an estimated profit, rough math, like 560, $70 million for more
Mhm.
than half a cut compared to what Spider-Man was. Now, Power World is an extreme success. Not every indie game is able to reach that amount of players, but it does get into the conversation, Fuzzy, that games, um, gamers will essentially come if they are interested. Development budgets are indeed getting a bit bloated, in my opinion. I don't know who played Spider-Man 2, but it is very similar to the first. In fact, it's buggier than both Spider-Man games. Before that, the 2018 one, the Miles Morales one. Was there another
Mhm.
one?
It
It
was
was
just the remake,
just the remake, right?
or I, I guess it was like the upgrade or whatever for the PS5 that they did for the
Right, because they
2018.
did
But
the original, the Miles
mhm.
Morales, and then they did a remaster of their original.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely buggier than those. Um, so I mean, and I feel like a lot of that budget is probably Marvel licensing fees and also trying to develop this game in a very short time frame. Like Sony really puts a lot of pressure on Insomniac, in my opinion. Like they have to deliver these games quickly. Um,
yeah.
so I'm sure a lot of that budget did go into like, hey, you got to make this game quick. Because to me, just again looking at Spider-Man 2 and looking at the previous iteration, I enjoyed what they did with Miles Morales more.
Mhm.
I thought it was a little bit of a step up for sure, but Spider-Man 2 just felt like it did feel like it was rushed a bit,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So my question to you, Fuzzy, do you think AAA games need to reassess their budgets? Do you feel like AAA games are dying? How do you feel like that compares to like indie games, essentially, with their
I
budgets and stuff?
see the thing I've noticed more recently is like these indie games or double A games and everything in between have kind of grabbed a little bit of a AAA look to them, whether it's the visuals or the amount of detail in like whether it's the UI, the menus, or just the mechanics of the game. They've borrowed from AAA without having to balloon up to extreme amounts for studio size or extreme amounts for budget. So it's like it almost feels like the AAA have been so focused on, I guess, these big production values and things so much that they I, I won't say that they ignore like the mechanics or the fun aspect of the game, but it seems like they're targeting different things than what the gamers for them are really looking for. Like to me, and it's not knocking WB, but WB had a hit on their hands with Hogwarts Legacy, a single player game. I mean, if they could incorporate co-op or something like that, would be cool. But that game did extremely well. Now, I'm pretty sure they had to pay a nice chunk in licensing, but nonetheless, that game was a complete game. Well, they cut a few things out, but it was overall, it felt like a complete game. Tremendous, gameplay loop, and now they're looking at doing more of games as a service and less of doing like the license stuff. I I, I think it's a little bit of a mistake when it comes to like look at how well Hogwarts did for you, and then the backlash that you got with, Suicide Squad. Although Suicide Squad, a lot of people have enjoyed that game. A lot of people see the fun factor in it, but it got hate because people wanted something other than what the game was, and now they're going to double down on doing that, which we'll see how at least the gaming media takes to it. But I really think some of these AAA companies need to look at where their expenses are really coming from. And I kind of joked about it on Twitter before, where a few people were like, "Oh yeah, AAA is dying and blah blah blah, and they should reduce the game size or scope. And I'm like, and it's not a knock to anybody in California,
Mm.
but there are a lot of studios based out of there. Cost of living is probably one of the highest in the US, and from a worldwide standpoint, I would say it's up there. I wouldn't say it's the highest because I know there are other countries where it's a little bit higher cost of living, but then there's other things that kind of counter that because then there are kickbacks to for employee wages and things like that. Kind of
Right.
not saying CD Project Red experiences that, but there are other things that help regions like that where the cost of living might be a bit out of proportion compared to other areas. But in California, I mean, I mean, it was like $8 gas when I went out there last,
Wow.
and it wasn't even four. It was like maybe in the low fours out my way in
Other things
Pennsylvania.
that
And
help.
I live in, I think it's the third richest county in the country, and we're not even paying those types of prices for gas. So it's like maybe they should look at diversifying the locations of where these studios are. Like keep your core group that's in California, your main tech people there, and maybe have a satellite location in Georgia or a satellite location in Mississippi or Kentucky or someplace that's cheaper to live. Not
Hmm.
saying that every dev is going to want to flop to some of those areas, but there are devs in those areas, although they may not be in gaming today, but they're developing websites or they're developing other coding and software for like robotics. Like Boston Dynamics is, I think, one of the higher, like the second highest, or where they're located. I think it's like the second highest county in the country, but the cost of living is like in the low 20s or something like that, like in comparison to like New York and LA and stuff like that. So it's like some of these companies need to look at that possibly. Um, Other ones need to just like kind of listen to some of the feedback. Like I know we always say, well, some of the fans that the loud vocal minority that are on, these social media platforms compared to like
Hmm.
the actual majority of players that don't even bother with any of that stuff. It's like, oh, they see the game, they like the game, or they heard, a review that they like and they buy the game kind of thing, as opposed to, all the critiques that, some of the players like us may give them. But like in the honest sense of things, it looks like the smaller studios focus on that gameplay loop that people talk about, and the AAA are like, how can we monetize them? And then the gameplay loop becomes like the second fiddle that they kind of figure out, or they just assume, well, this worked in this game, and we just monetize it here and there, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then it because it's a dated mechanic, or people may not have received it as well in that game, and now you're doing it again in this game. Now they're completely up in arms about it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely tough. What do you think are some of the things that they should probably look at as far as changing things up possibly?
Yeah, I mean, just from my experience in the industry, I think something that happens a lot is they go to those formulas, like some things you brought up. It could become formulaic because they go to what works, what they even in genres like, oh, this certain thing works, so let's just apply this to everything. And that's when that sort of passion of a game can come out of a conversation, because you're doing things based on statistics or what's easier for a player to understand rather than what's best for the game itself. I feel like that's a big thing in development. So, but you can argue with someone like Insomniac, who they're a very talented studio. Um, they definitely, I mean, I feel like they do definitely do play it safe, but they know how to do it well. Not everyone can do an Insomniac game. They develop games pretty quickly. Not everyone can do that. So like, while I think Spider-Man 2 was incredibly rushed, and where I want them to be more ambitious with their games and more, not just go to the same formulas. I mean, that's something PlayStation is doing quite a bit right now, reaching into their catalog of what they already own, and just making another one. And he actually talks about that later in this interview, I'll see if I can pull up a quote. If not, basically later in this interview, he talks about how you might just have to do sequel. Oh yeah, he says it right here. That puts you in a place where you're incentivized towards sequels. And that's he said that back in 2021. And that's completely right. When you have big budgets, that's like 200, 300 million, you're like, well, that cost a lot of money. I'm not gonna make a sequel because of how much that was. We already have the mechanics there. It's not gonna be a one and well, a lot of games are one and done, but it's not the one and done in terms of like production. Like we have systems in place for a game like God of War. Why not reuse it for a sequel and then maybe polish the map up a little bit, add some story here and there. That is the PlayStation formula right now. That is something they are doing quite a bit. Not a lot of people are calling them out on it because people really enjoy these titles. They really enjoy Spider-Man 2 and God of War and things like that. But in my opinion, so you get a lot of sequels and remasters of remakes and things like that. You get that, but a game like Spider-Man 2 shouldn't have cost $300 million. Especially when you consider you had the systems in place. So you already have the web swinging mechanic, you have the city already there. Now, yes, you are expanding it like Queens or wherever you want to add, sure, but that's still not enough to let's increase it to 300 million. The first one, I believe it said it was like 90 million or something like that. Um, you would think when you have the systems in place, you'd be like, okay, now that we have it, it won't be as expensive. But instead, it's who knows? Spider-Man 3 was going to be like 400 million. Like that doesn't make sense. That's not it's not very sustainable.
Yeah, it's cost prohibitive at that point. Like, if it was the balloon up to that point, and you're not getting that like day one with pre-orders kind of thing. I mean, other than Grand Theft Auto, there's not many games that do, but I can't imagine how long it would take for them to recoup that stuff. Like, even when things hit 10 million units, it's like, did you make all your money back and then some? Like, did you make your 50% plus range that they are looking for in return? Or I don't
Yeah.
know.
It does make you wonder, right? Like cuz a lot of people they like to boast about PlayStation sales. The only one that doesn't really um that's lately not boasting about PlayStation sales cuz PlayStation loves to boast about their sales. But is really PlayStation saying like this stuff is not enough. It's really the people who are saying like, look how much we're selling, and look, and PlayStation's like, we're closing down like a bunch of studios. This is not enough. We need to expand our business. It's like PlayStation is saying that their audience is saying the opposite. In a lot of ways, but I think indie games, to also answer your question, indie games are just in a place where they can be more creative. They can take more risk. They can try things like Power World, for example. It's initially it was pitched as Pokemon with guns, but really it's a survival game. It has tons of different mechanics in it. Something that I
Yeah.
don't think Pokemon would ever do because Pokemon is stuck with their formula like that. They again, it's a formulaic thing that they know works. So they're like, oh, we've done this 20 times. We got Pokemon red, blue, green, yellow, purple, whatever. We know how it works. People are gonna
Yeah.
buy it regardless. Let's just stay to this. But the reason why people like really wanted something like Power World is they were feeding for someone to try get out of that formula that is Pokemon and actually like try something else, something different. That is why indie games will always have the edge, in my opinion, over a lot of AAA games. But what they won't have is all those graphics. I put up GTA on the screen right now.
Mhm.
There's not going to be a game that could probably compete with GTA 6.
No.
So just keep that in mind. Like our conversations can be nuanced, right? Like I'm not saying every game, every AAA game is like is bad or anything like that. I love AAA games.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking to the development side where budgets are getting kind of crazy and how that's going to affect our industry. We will see. We're starting to see. I mean, Sean Layden said this way years ago, and we're
Mhm.
seeing his words are pretty much coming true. He thought games would be 200 million. Spider-Man, add another 100 million to that. I think he probably thought that was an exaggeration at that time, and ended up being even more than that.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll definitely see. I feel like there is a lot of ways the industry could go with this where I hope my hope is they try new things, but I know the industry just likes to take this and be like, so you mean more microtransactions? I'm like, no. So what you're saying is you want games to be $80? I'm like, no. That's not what we're saying. We're like, try new things. Like, oh,
Yeah.
let's make it $85. They be really trying us. That's for sure.
No,
Uh,
they'll go to that what that one guy said before, where it's like, oh, each reload will cost you $5 or something random. Like, what? No, this is totally not the mechanic that we were going for. That's like a mobile mechanic, and even mobile games don't do that. Like, they'll charge you if you want more tries. Like, oh, you only get 3 tries a day, and oh, you didn't make this puzzle. Okay, you could pay $5 and have unlimited tries for 30 days. It's like,
yeah, it's insane. Didn't
but
EA pitch something? Is that what you're talking about? Like the
yeah.
EA CEO, he was. What did he say? I'll have to find that quote. I remember he just said like we need to start charging people for like individual tasks or
Yeah,
something like that. I
like
can't.
I think he wanted to charge for like reloads or additional ammo or something. Like this was like early on when I guess he was working on like Battlefield or Battlefield was about to come out and they were looking to monetize it in different ways. Although they booted him out not too far after. I think he didn't he go to Unity or something?
Yeah,
Like
he went
he
through
wherever he's
Unity.
gone, it's like, hey, how can I be a slime ball to make more money? Like I guess from a shareholder standpoint, he's a good guy, but if you're the consumer, not so much. So yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, we'll see what the gaming industry ends up doing. It's like I hope it doesn't go that route, but history tells that it's probably going that route.
yeah,
Poison Maniac in our chat, he says Deviation Games that was a PlayStation exclusive was canned. I guess they didn't have enough for another project, which sucks. Or
yeah,
split up games into parts. I mean, that's what they're doing with Spider-Man. Um, to me, I couldn't really talk about this on other shows yet because I didn't want to spoil Spider-Man 2 for people. But they're making a Venom game that's slated to come out next year, I believe. Um, they already have Venom mechanics in Spider-Man 2. Really, they could just take what's in there again, spread it out a little bit, make it so he can free roam the city, and then just call it a day. That's kind of what we are talking about, where they could just take what's pre-existing and then kind of put some put some shine on it. But
yeah,
yeah, deviation games, that is the thing that happened, Fuzzy. PlayStation did close another studio. I had a
yeah,
post up, and maybe it's something we can get into. I had a post where I kind of talked about all the different studios that have been closed. I said PlayStation has shut down 4 studios within 4 years. And that's not even getting into all restructuring of teams, then shutting down before these. I brought up Manchester Studio, Pixel
mm,
Opus, Japan Studio, London Studios, and now Deviation Games, which is not owned by PlayStation, but they were
right,
in partnership with PlayStation. So I mean, yeah, it's still still bad. I do wonder what games are even left of the games they plan to to make multiplayer type games.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
Was that a part of
I think
it?
it started with 10, then it was 12, and then it was 6, and now it's kind of unknown. I mean, they released one so far,
Was that
and there's
which one was that
supposed to
one?
be possibly 3 or 4 still in the works. Like, we know, as far as ones we know. Okay, so we
Hmm.
got Fair Game, we got Concord. I don't think Concord's
Yeah.
coming out this year. I don't think Fair Game's coming out this year. So those are probably next year.
So that's two
Hopefully they're
games.
smart and do PC day and date on those. I don't know if they made mention of that. I don't
Hmm.
know if they in the numbers include things like um, marathon, because I know that
Hmm.
got delayed.
Okay.
Um, so
Is
I don't I
Destiny supposed to come out later?
well I think this I think it's June when they do their final DLC or something, the final shape.
Okay.
They've had some, I think, additional changes that they made. They've released some stuff from the vault or something like that. Like, I haven't played Destiny in a while, and no, it's not because they're owned by or Bungie's owned by PlayStation. It's just I I really tried my best to like Destiny 1 when it was vanilla, and I just got all frustrated. And then PTK Blam got me back into it, and
Nice.
I finally understood the leveling and how to level your armor and your weapons. And then once I got to that, then that's when like shaders were costing money all the time. And then the dust or whatever was like a lot less that you would get as a reward. And then the engrams were harder to come by, or at least the worthwhile ones. And it's like, oh, they're just making it more grindy to get more money out of me. And I'm like, well, the division tried to do stuff with seasons, but there's a free track and then there's a pay track. And I typically did the pay track. I think the last one before this most recent was the last pay track I did.
Hmm.
Just because there's like so many things broken with that. It's not broken with the pay track, it's broken with the keys.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just got tired of, like, I used to be able to get the keys a lot easier. Now it's more of a drawn out thing. But like, I have pretty much all but 4 cosmetics in the game. So that goes to show how much I used to play the division. But it's like with Destiny, once they started making it more grindy, it's like I don't need another more grindy game than what I already have out there. So,
Yeah, when I was
but
playing Division 2 with you guys, um, first off, I was always late for multiple reasons. So like I would be like, all right, I'm ready to play, and I'm like, all right, hold on, we'll do one more mission, and I fall asleep, and then like, you there? We're ready. And I would just be like knocked out with my controller.
no, I
Division
think the
2 is
funniest
great.
was like some of the, like, you're like, wait, I'm taking a picture. Like, I mean, let's be honest, the scenery in that game is awesome,
Yeah.
but it's like a sunset in the background. We just blew up this tower over here, and you're like, wait, I gotta take a picture.
They're like, there's people
It
shooting
is a
us
good
right
picture.
now.
You're getting shot at. It's like, all right, we got cover fire. You go ahead and take the picture. But
I'm the
yeah,
worst
that
with
game is so
that.
much fun.
I can like Mav and them, they definitely know it. But like whenever we're playing like a game, I can like sometimes I just get lost in the experience. Like, wow, the developers did a great job with that rock over there, and I just start looking at it. They're like, we're playing a game right now. This is serious. Yeah, but Division 2, if you guys have not played it, it's one of the most solid like I don't even know what do you call it? Is it just like not even
It is kind of a MMO games as well. It's not
I'm
really the MMO aspect, I don't think, but it
trying to
is
figure
like
out
a
the
games
term.
as a service, live service game,
Yeah,
always online. There is no pause button, even when you're, not in the dark zone. So
yeah,
yeah,
solid, super solid game.
it's what made me become an Xbox guy. Because like I said, I tried to like Destiny 1, the vanilla version I played on PS4. Other than my work buddies, no, like when you group up with randoms, nobody had a mic, and I understand why, because of the mics back then. You had the little like mint thing that was like trash that
Yeah.
people didn't want to use. That's why they didn't want to use them. But it was like nobody would be on the mic. They were running past enemies, and I'm trying to shoot and kill stuff because that's the goal of the game. And they're already trying to fight the main boss. Oh, you're being warped to them, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on now. What? Why did we run past it? Why did you guys run past? It? And
We'll
they're not
explain it
answering.
later.
They're just killing stuff. It's like I'm like, oh, this sucks. But it's like the minute I play Division on Xbox, it's like, all right, there's more enemies coming on the right. Everybody, I'll cover on the right. And then like people are calling out shots or where enemies are, and it's like you're going through the streets, and then it's like, all right, let's go into the dark zone, and everybody's like, what was that? Like they're all like, all alert and
Yeah, I
paying
love
attention to
that.
like sounds and things like that, and then come across another group, and it's like, should we shoot them or should we? And then it's like somebody waves. It's like, all right, they look like they're cool. So it's like, and in the beginning, it was like, oh, we were playing like the police force, and then like somebody would go rogue, and everybody would like hunt them down. And then the game changed because I guess they found nobody was going rogue, and they were like, oh, this is boring. So then they made it easier for rogues, and it was like everybody's a rogue. It's like, wait, what happened? I just climbed over the wall to get here, and I'm already shot dead. What happened? It's like, but yeah, that game is so much fun. And then just the communication on Xbox was like what hooked me there. I was like, yep,
Yeah,
this is where I'm going to play my multiplayer games. So, and
heck
then
yeah.
it eventually became all my games or a majority of my games. So, yeah.
I remember back in the day, Xbox had like voice mask, which I would use. It's what it was. This was on the original Xbox. Um, so I've had Xbox Live since I was 10 or 9 years
Mm.
old.
Oh, wow.
So on the original Xbox, I would play Splinter Cell online.
Mm.
And they had when they had the Mercs versus Spies mode, and I remember their online features. Even back in the day, was crazy. They made it so you can like sound like Darth Vader, or you can have like a robot voice or something. They got rid of that stuff. I'm sure that was probably annoying for a lot of people, but for me, I was like, oh, this is super cool. Um, and I liked it because I was like 10, so I was like, hey guys, what's going on? So that's all it was back in the day. But Xbox's online features were has always been like a step ahead and incredible. Like people forget the PlayStation 4 was the first PlayStation to get party chat. Like it
Yeah.
took them that long to get party chat when um yeah, I mean crazy. Crazy. We got some people in our chat. Before we get to the next topic, let's see what people are up to. Poison, you kind of just talking about like not a fan of the splitting up games with Spider-Man 3. I agree. I'm not a fan of that. I want Insomniac to have enough time to just imagine if Insomniac had like 3-4 years like solid just to work on Spider-Man 3. That like goodness. That would be a good game in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like they do all this work in like 1 to 2 years, whatever, just shelling out. They're about to shell out Venom, splitting off teams, make Venom, and then making another team do Spider-Man 3, which is technically split into two parts unless they change that. Um, just imagine if Insomniac had like a lot of time to
Mm.
just work on these games.
You might have
If
had co-op.
might have had co-op. That's what I'm talking about. I want them to have the time, have the ambition. Like ambition needs to be there. I feel like with a lot of AAA games, they play this safe route of like,
Yeah.
oh, people will like this or whatever. But imagine, guys, this is not. I'm not like a Sony hater or whatever. I just like good games. So imagine if Spider-Man had co-op and you could just like swing with your friends. Like just imagine how cool that would be. And apparently it was in plan. It was planned in development, and they just
Mm.
didn't have enough time, or whatever the reason was.
Yeah.
I'm sure it had to be time because like they do not get a lot of it. So yes, we got some more. Arthur said it has solid single player, just like Division. Yeah, Division's awesome.
Yeah, you can definitely play it solo, but like I'm so used to having at least one other friend go through it and stuff like that. Although Division One, I did play a lot of solo. Like the biggest thing was always the challenge of trying to do challenging solo. And then it was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, I can do challenging solo easy. Now let me just use pistols. And then they used to have like before they had like the timed events like they have now with the season stuff. There was a group that I was in. We would actually try to do. It was like the apartment where the disease was in the apartment and it was like on fire, partly on fire. We would have like speed runs. Who could do it in four
Mm,
minutes? And I think when we first started, people were like, "Oh, I can do it in 6 minutes." And then it was like, "Oh, I can do it in 5:40. Oh, I can do it in 5:20." And then it was like, "Well, I got 5 minutes 2 seconds." And then it was like people started breaking into the fours. And then I figured out how you can get into the fours because you had to run past certain enemies or something like that, or just pop the tanks and
mhm.
kill the cleaners that way to get them out of the way faster. And then people were like, "I got 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and then 4 minutes and six." I'm like, I'm struggling getting to 4 minutes and 30 something seconds. I'm like, I'm already out. You guys are, I like, and then you'd have like people would show or, share their gameplay. And I'm like, I didn't even know you could do that. Well, I didn't even know,
Yeah.
like, they got hella aim with the sniper rifle. Like they took out the sniper before they even showed the saw the shine of the scope on the sniper shooting them across the rooftops and things like that. So it was like, yeah, I'm no longer in this competition. But
Yeah.
yeah, Division 1 was an awesome game. I liked Division 2 a lot, but there was something special about Division 1 that I hope when there's a Division 3 they bring back some of that atmosphere. And maybe the atmosphere just needs to be snow. Maybe they need to borrow something from Playground Games and put seasons in it and
Mm.
call it done.
Yeah, that'll be sick. There's something special. Like I play a lot of games casually, right? Like
Mhm.
just like something like Coffee Talk or NBA. I'm not a casual gamer, but like I do play a lot of games that are just like casually. But then there's something like special about
Mhm.
when you really like a game and you're like you maybe you beat it or you experience a lot of it, but then you still find a, a lot of enjoyment within like trying stuff. Like for example, I remember I was super into Batman Arkham Asylum and their Riddler trophies and stuff like that. But they had the
Mhm.
the combat mode, and I was like obsessed with getting better times and stuff and trying to figure out how to beat it. Like, and I'm just saying, a little flex. I had the world record for the fastest time in a lot of the combat rooms in Arkham Asylum until some guy beat me. I don't know what his name was, but it was up there. My name was up there for quite some time. But there's just something special about like being able to like play a game, you experience it, whatever, and then you're like, I still want more out of this game, and then you can like get that extra little inch. It's something cool
Yeah.
about that. I only do that
Yeah.
with a couple games, but when you do, it's like it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our second topic. So, this second topic of the day is actually it's an interesting one. It's a thumbnail that you guys have seen, and Will made it. Said shout out to the algorithm. Yes, if the
Mhm.
algorithm brought you here, shout out to YouTube. Appreciate you dropping by. Will made it. Um, so yeah, the second topic, it's an interesting one. It's about Sea of Thieves. So this game is headed to PlayStation, according to thegamer.com. Sea
Mhm.
of Thieves is currently the most pre-ordered game on the PlayStation Store across the US, UK, France, and Germany. Despite still being more than a month away, so it could increase, maybe decrease. We'll see. Um, so I mean, this brings up a lot of interesting topics, Fuzzy. What does this mean for other Xbox titles? Do you think Xbox knew this was going to be super successful? We had a lot of PlayStation fans put up petitions for years saying, "I want this game on PlayStation," and
Mhm.
now it's finally on PlayStation. What do you think?
I'm starting to think they knew they had something special with Sea of Thieves as far as putting it over there, just for the fact that Skull and Bones, which would be like the closest multi-plat equivalent, was taken forever. And people, I won't say they completely lost interest, but there was a high of interest, and then things just went kind of downhill for a bit. So, for as far as Skull and Bones, I'm pretty sure there were people like, well, this game's never coming out. Now it's finally coming out, and Xbox is like, you know what? Maybe we could beat them to the punch, or maybe we could do one better. The game that a lot of people have been playing and enjoying and getting, pirate ship combat out of. Well, let's see what those guys over there think. Even though when it came out on Xbox, everybody kind of clowned it, even some Xbox people. But it's a game that's grown its audience over time, and I didn't want to think that PlayStation guys were about this type of game because they like the third person over the shoulder narrative experience kind of thing, like a movie with quick time or actual combat like Batman combat kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
in any event, I didn't think this fit the normal mold that does well over there. The 10 million or 20 million copy kind of thing. And this thing is tracking higher than Rise of the Ronin, which I would say that fits the PlayStation mold. I mean, sure, it may not be a Ghost of Tsushima, but it looks good to me. And it's probably one of the few that's on like the, coming out in 24 list that is over there that I'm looking forward to. But I would have like this. This was not on my bingo card this year. Like Sea of Thieves, outperforming some of the stuff in the PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
I would have never thought it.
Yeah, same. It surprised me when I started hearing like, oh, word, okay. And I guess how I started seeing it as Xbox has a lot of Trojan horses inside of PlayStation right now. Like when you think about the most sold games on PlayStation, a lot of it are Xbox titles. Um, you got Call of Duty, you got Minecraft, and hey, this is beating PlayStation's like first party. I guess Rise and Ronin is that technically first party? Is that first party?
It's what I used to call second party because it
Second
is
party?
supposed to be like an associated developed or paid developed title that's exclusive, but some people say it's first party. I can't
Yeah.
remember if they own the IP, but
Yeah, with them specifically, I couldn't remember if they were first or second. But hey, again, I always say at the end of the show, if we're wrong about something, please let us know.
yeah.
We are not stringent. Like this is law around here. So yeah, this is interesting because it brings up a lot of conversations of like, because Phil says, and this is one thing I don't think Phil knows what he's saying here when he says, don't take this as more games going to other platforms, etc., etc. I think he's talking about in the meantime, in the short frame time frame.
Mhm.
But listen, if Sea of Thieves, let's say if Pentiment was a success, I don't think it's gonna be, or I don't think it's very successful. But if Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment were successes, then why not?
Yeah.
Is probably a lot of their mentality. I do think they take exclusives into account. I do think they think about the brand quite a
Mhm.
bit. I do think they think about those conversations, even though a lot of people are like, "Well, Xbox is dead now, throw in the trash." I do think Xbox is thinking about what that does to the brand,
Mhm.
because their end goal, if their business goals are still what it was, Game Pass is still number one to them. How do you
Mhm.
bring people into Game Pass? Game Pass is not on PlayStation, right? So you have different games. You have the four games which are definitely test subjects in a lot of different genres. I think Sea of Thieves is a very good test subject for them if they make any sort of games as a service title. How will that perform on other platforms such as PlayStation, where what Fuzzy just said, they are catered towards specific genres. Like how
Mhm.
is a game like Sea of Thieves going to perform when you kind of train your audience towards specific genres? As we're seeing, it's pre-ordering very well.
Mhm.
We'll see. I do think Sea of Thieves had that power because for a while a lot of streamers and stuff would play it. They've been waiting. A lot of like, I'm sure PlayStation people would watch content creators play Sea of Thieves and like, wow, this actually looks good, but they didn't want to admit it. Um, so now we're in this case where Xbox is probably thinking about these on what Poison just said. I think on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I again, I still think Xbox exclusives are important to them. I do think they will have their exclusives. You have a lot of misinformation out there from people saying this game I heard from my sources. I'm not gonna say who it is. Y'all know who it is. My sources told me this game is coming at Hellblade 2 is confirmed. My advice is not to listen to these people. If anything, right? Let's say you don't believe me. That's fine. If anything, if you were to learn anything by these past few weeks about how people respond to rumors, it should be to just not believe in a lot of stuff, but also just breathe.
Mhm.
Just breathe. Wait for official confirmation. A lot of people do try to spread misinformation, spread fear and panic, to get clout and views. Um, and a lot of I do give credit to Fuzzy, Mav, all these people and Fun Speculation channel because we did not we did not go out there and say go sell your Xbox. Xbox is dead. We came at it from our approach like, well, how does this benefit me? Because at the end of the day, like that's how I look at things. I'm a consumer. Is where do I want to cement myself in the future? For
Yeah.
me, it could be PC because PC that's where a lot of games are going. I'm pretty sure that's what Fuzzy is going as well.
Mhm.
So just I'm just sort of selfish about it. I'm like I like where are these games coming? Okay, they have to pay $70 for Sea of Thieves. I have it on Game Pass. That's still a better value by far for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, you could still use that conversation. I know a lot of people like we just lost the game, but did you're getting it for a discount, if not almost free on Game Pass. Yeah, go ahead.
If you consider it from a PvP standpoint, you didn't lose a game. You just got more targets.
You got yeah, and Sea of Thieves is brutal, by the way. Um, my first day on Sea of Thieves, I had like an army of pirates come after me.
Mhm.
They sunk my ship, took all of my stuff, and then basically saluted me. Did it like in a salute emoji, and they were gone. And I was like, okay, oh, that's how it's gonna be. Like, dang. So for the people who are jumping in to Sea of Thieves, PlayStation, y'all watch out.
Yeah, watch
The
your back.
watch you. The seas are brutal. That is
Yeah.
for sure. But Fuzzy, that yeah, that does bring into the conversation of other games coming to
Mhm.
the platform. Do you
Yeah.
think it's going to be like a case by case basis, or do you think like they did the four and they're
Mhm.
like it's not performing as well as we wanted to? Or what do you think they're looking for here?
I think they're going to continue to look at metrics. I don't think it'll be like an overnight thing, but like considering the metrics they're seeing on like the pre-orders, and then let's say they sell 3 million, 4 million copies, they get, you know, that many more players. They're a lot more active. They get 1 million of them to buy more cosmetics. They might look at another games as a service. Now, on the flip side, if Hi-Fi Rush starts to be a breakout as far as doing numbers, pre-sales and things like that, they might look at the smaller single player game. But I think with this doing well, and I kind of joked about this in a way when we first heard it with Sea of Thieves. I was like, what better way to squash your competitions, games as a service plan, especially now that they're canceling some of them, than to load them up with some more games as a service. Like you'll
Mm,
beat them to the punch to make money, more money off of them than they can make money off of themselves.
dang.
So I could see another games as a service come up for consideration faster than maybe it would have in other circumstances. So not saying it'll be tomorrow, not saying it'll be later this year, might even be for 2 years. But if there is another games as a service, that's not like a brand defining one, which I'm kind of torn on this what I'm going to say, but like Forza Horizon 5, Forza as a series is brand defining. But
Yeah.
I kind of feel if Forza Horizon 5 was over there because they don't have a first party arcade racer. They got rid of Drive Club. And that's kind of a hole over there. I mean, sure, they got Gran Turismo, but that's your sim racer. People love arcade racers. And what we've seen even on Xbox and probably other places as well, arcade racers are the more casual and a lot more of a player base. So you put something like that over there. You probably already have Forza Horizon 6 in the works. Maybe it's going to be in Japan this time. Give them a little taste, get them all
Mhm.
excited about this game, and then they see the from a graphic standpoint and a performance standpoint how awesome it is, and then you let them know that they're not going to see Forza Horizon 6. The only way to see is get that Series X or Series S. I think that would be a play, although I know there's a lot of people who'd be like that's a line too far, but me as a
Yeah.
Forza guy, I think that makes sense. Now, would Motorsport go over there? No. They have their GT7. I don't think you don't need to put that over there. You don't need to put Motorsport over there. But Horizon, there's a hole. They don't have Drive Club. They don't have an arcade racer. They don't do like Motor Storm anymore. So, and that's a games as a service with car packs that you could sell them at $5 or $10 a pop for like 5 or 6 cars. They might eat it up
Yeah.
because their newer cars, they get newer cars more on a more regular basis than what GT7 does. So if they want to play the 2022 cars or 2023 cars, and you ain't seeing none of the 2022, you're not seeing anything past 2020 or 2021 in GT7. Oh, just buy this pack or buy the whole, car monthly pack or weekly pack, and you get like 30 more cars that are all after 2019 or newer or something along those lines. And it's like that might make some extra money. I mean, yes, they already have 35 million players between Xbox and PC, but if you could add another 5 million, another 10 million, and those people get thirsty enough when I was about to say Grand Theft Auto 6 when
Mhm.
Forza Horizon 6 comes out, it might be worthwhile, but I don't know. That we'll see how that works out. But I think that might be a plan because I don't think you do Halo multiplayer over there. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I know the Halo crowd is they definitely think
Mhm.
differently than I do on that.
Yeah.
I don't think you put what do you call them, gears over there. Um, Even though they have a hole as far as those first person shooters and even third person shooters.
Yeah.
Um, I think are so tied to the brand, but I think Horizon could get the pass.
You think
But
it'll
that's
get
just
that pass?
me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're thinking about this strategically, not the emotional level that a lot of people are probably gonna get to that level. Which I might if they go to Halo, or whatever, because I love Halo and I associate that pretty powerful with the Xbox brand. However, again, these executives about don't care about your emotion. They want money, so they're seeing it from a business standpoint, a strategic standpoint. Um, there is that element of, hey, if you just put games on Xbox, what's to prevent people just not buying an Xbox? And I think the counter to that is like, well, they want you to be in their ecosystem more so than the console. The people who are focused on console is probably PlayStation. For a while now, they're starting to see like, oh, console sales are minuscule compared to people in your a reoccurring system, rather than just like one and done. Like, oh, we paid for the console. Um, and the King brought up a bunch of good points about that in our last episode. Guys,
Mhm.
go check it out. He talked about like resale and people like having a PlayStation but not really essentially using it, stuff like that.
Mhm.
There's about like a million or so inactive PlayStation 5s. It's probably more now. I think that was back when PlayStation 5 had,
Like 20 million maybe or something like that.
yeah. So it could be more than that now. Because it was a ton of scalpers. And the scalpers at this point, couldn't sell their PlayStation 5s, and yeah, it's insane. Absolutely insane. Well, Tom from Tanami, he did correct to say it was like the $60 for the top edition of the game.
Oh,
So I
okay.
didn't want to make sure I recorrect, but thank you, Tom. So $60, not that 70, but hey, still, it still applies. $60 that PlayStation people have to do, or they can just play it straight in Game Pass.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's going to be the conversation for a lot of people. For Xbox, like it'd be pretty good messaging, like oh, play it with almost like the commercial they did back in the day. Play it right now, pay $60, or play it in Game Pass. We do know there's a lot of strategies they can do. Looking at their catalog, PlayStation has really put themselves in an interesting position, going for certain genres of games like God of War, Spider-Man 2, things like that. They are not really multiplayer based. So when they add multiplayer elements like in Ghost of Tsushima, people are like, what? This has multiplayer, and they're just not receptive, as receptive as an Xbox audience. But
Yeah.
Xbox could be looking at that. They're like, hey, they don't have a first person shooter. Halo is a pretty good game to put out there. I don't want them to put that game, but hey, that's a live service game. It makes sense if Halo does go over there. But this is like talking. This is future, right? This is
Yeah, definitely
future.
not like stuff for tomorrow per se, but like it
Yes,
could be 2 to 5 years from now. Like when that next series Xbox comes out, maybe they loosen up the strings on the stuff that came out this gen kind of thing.
yes.
And it's
Like
like you see what we have for the next gen where it's like VR without the VR headset, or you could at least try this to kind of get your wherewithal with game and get used to it before you step up to the actual real system kind of thing. So we'll see.
yeah, I guess we'll see. So that was our second topic. So Fuzzy, I do want you to lead on this one. Of basically talking about only needing a PlayStation or a PC from some of these fanboys. Is a topic you brought up.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about it.
All right. So
Reason.
with Sea of Thieves doing so well on PlayStation, and a lot of the PlayStation cats, not all of them, because some of them are the same guys that will also have a Series X or have a PC and actually game there as well. But a lot of them are like, why would I buy an Xbox? I can just, play it on PC kind of thing. And with that being said, if that was the case, you wouldn't have to have all of these pre-orders on their PlayStation 5 because if they had a PC, and they really won that game, they already could just play it on their gaming rig. So it's like it just goes to show you that if they were being 100% honest, where all I need is a PC and a PlayStation, then you would already have access to the Xbox games through PC Game Pass, which in all honesty, if you're playing on PC, that's like the real cheat code. I mean, Ultimate is great, but for like my sons right now, they've switched from just doing Ultimate to just doing PC Game Pass because to be honest, they haven't touched their Series S because they play all the same games on their PCs now, and they're loving the 120 frames. Yes, I know the
Mm,
Series S can do the 120 frames, but they're so now used to their monitor as opposed to I think their TVs are like 40-inch or whatever. But
nice.
they're 20, I think it's like 27-inch monitor. No, that's where it's at for them. It's 144 hertz, 120 frames or better. Some of the games they're playing are like 190. I think my one son now with his video card and CPU upgrade, some parts, except for not in Streets. Streets for Tarkov is still a little laggy, but like sometimes that thing is like 240 frames. I'm like, that is ridiculous. That's put my rig to shame right now.
Yep.
But yeah, if these guys had PCs, you shouldn't see these, you know, you know, Xbox games trending so well in the PlayStation Store. They should already have them.
It's such a good point. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, that's been a point of conversation for years. Where it's like, I don't need to play Gears of War. I have it. I have a PC.
Hmm.
Um, I don't need to play Halo. I got a PC. I don't need Sea of Thieves, whatever. I have a PC. So why is it like you're so excited about Sea of Thieves coming to PlayStation if you already have it? You
Yeah.
know, yeah, that's that is interesting. Um, I get being excited if you wanted it to come to PlayStation, et cetera, but
Yeah.
it's been a point of contention from a lot of Sony fans. Like we don't that's not happening to our side. Like on PlayStation,
Yeah.
I can only play Ghost of Tsushima on console. God of War, I can only play this on my console. You can't really say that anymore.
Right.
Especially like from this podcast, future 3-bit, future fuzzy, whatever,
Hmm.
it's gonna get even worse.
Yeah.
It's gonna be way more PlayStation games on PC. I mean, you could market, you could quote me if you need to, but
Hmm.
that's just a fact. That is something that is in their business plan. They're seeing how profitable it can be. A test. So Xbox is doing these test games, these 4 test titles, and I believe PlayStation is kind of doing it with. They did it with Helldivers. I
Yes.
believe that was their first one I can think of in a while.
Yeah. Day and date PC, which makes sense for games as a service, but I don't think they ever expected it to do this. Like, I think they probably expected like maybe it's 50-50 as far as the market, but the fact that it was like almost like 80-20, maybe even bigger chunk on PC, I think they're probably like, what else are we missing kind of thing. And there's already rumors like the same person that said, "Oh, be prepared next week for the Ghost of Tsushima announcement." They already had like a roadmap for like Ragnarok is July and GT7 is August. Which if it comes out in August on PC, I'm buying it because unfortunately you don't get the double dip like you do with Xbox over there. But they will probably allow me to mod it, and that's the only thing I have a gripe with when it comes to Forza. I understand why they don't want you to mod it because they want to keep it competitive. They want it so everybody can have a fair multiplayer experience. But if I want to race offline and I want to mod like the cars in my garage or something like that for the race, I should be allowed to do it and not get an insta ban the next time I
Mm-hmm.
go to log into the game because it does the check to make sure it's not modded.
Yeah.
But with I think all the PlayStation games, they haven't put anything other than like the DRM stuff, but that doesn't ban you if you mod the game. So like we already saw like Homer Simpson in like God of War kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I seen it.
So yeah, we're I don't think we have to worry about those things with GT7. So if it's the case, I'll probably wind up buying it on PC. But yeah, the day and date for PC I think is coming sooner rather than later. Um, and unfortunately, the PlayStation, crowd is just getting used to that step. Like we've already gone over that hurdle years ago, and I think one of the sacrificial lambs of that one was, and I hate bringing up people's names, but I'll say it. Trap
Yep.
Gamer was like the
Mm-hmm.
sacrificial lamb at that point, and I mean, me personally, back then, I was all for it for the fact that I knew that they were doing like the dual entitlement, which I was like, well, my PC at that time was more so just a laptop. It wasn't really geared for gaming, but I was like, you know what? This will pay dividends when I do build that rig. That I'll get the better, eventually the better visual version because the PC, I'll just put a better graphics card, better chipset in it, and go from there. And then when I think when the PlayStation cats realize that and that they can do the same thing with PC because PC gets widescreen, they get other like additional scenes or modes,
Yep.
they get better fidelity.
And
They
it's
can adjust
cheaper.
that fidelity. Yeah, and it's like $10 cheaper.
Yeah.
Um, I think, and there's now a lot more support. At least I know with Steam, although you still have to connect it via USB. You have to have it tethered, but you can use the dual. Actually, you can use the dual shock controller. So if you want to use a PS4 controller, you can, or you can use your dual sense with their games. And I mean, to me, it's still on the weak side as far as the feedback. Like I think for Spider-Man, it feels the same on the console, and it didn't feel as special as like Astrobot. I mean, they're probably never going to put
Yeah.
Astrobot over there because that's meant for a
Literally.
PS5 demo. But
Yeah.
like Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that, I think some of the feedback is still better on the PS5. But it might be just me needing to go in there and adjust the settings or something like that. But yeah, day and date, it's coming,
It's
and
coming.
just I the word to the PlayStation crowd, just think of it as reinvestment into your platform. The PC crowd, not that they were coming to save the day, but if they're spending money in your platform, that means that Sony will continue to have more money to make more games.
Yeah.
And that's what we all want, right? So,
Yeah. We all want competition. I'm not for any platform dying necessarily. I have my gripes with PlayStation as a business. I feel like they use their market position in a lot of ways that are negative, and just double charging you or not offering different features or charging you for said features. That stuff bothers me, but competition, just imagine if Xbox wasn't in the space. We would probably be having $80 games. We probably would have like God of War 3 that is basically the same game, just like let's move them from this part of the map to this part of it. It would just be bad. It would be pretty bad. So I believe having PlayStation is pivotable, pivotable, pivot, able. I guess I don't know. It's essential. That's a better word for it.
yeah.
Essential. Um, we need all three. I think Xbox provides very good services. I think their multiplayer and online experiences are amazing. Sony offers these movie quality games that I feel like Xbox could have definitely more of. And the way they market their games is pretty good. It is
Yeah.
pretty good. It's something I really want Xbox to take from. And I say that while they have terrible showcases, but it's just something they need to definitely work on.
Yeah.
Or Arthur One says, at this point I don't believe anything Phil has to say. It's just a wait and see. I can understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about on this show, um, how the previous thing Phil would say is you can expect games to go where Game Pass exists. These
Mhm.
are 4 games going where Game Pass does not exist.
Yeah.
Which you can argue that this is a change of plan. Um, but I mean, if you pitch a vision to somebody and you're just like, this is what we're planning on doing, this is the vision we have for the brand, and then all of a sudden you're like, nah, we're not doing that.
Mhm.
It brings up a point of conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it does bring into question other statements Phil has made. Does it still apply? Does it not
Mhm.
apply? Is this just a separate scenario? I don't think it is. He said in that interview, he was like, please don't take this as all games coming to other
Mhm.
platforms.
Yeah.
I beg to differ. I think I think if these 4 games do really well, why wouldn't you? You know,
Yeah.
why put 4 games on other platforms if we're not taking this, a certain way?
Yeah.
I don't
I think I I don't want to blame Phil, but I don't want to give him a pass either. But I think in some cases, some of the things he said in the past, the changes are not necessarily his call. It might be, I won't say it's against his will because he could always, try and argue, which I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have meetings and spoke to Satya or whomever is, now kind of moving the needle a little bit for them to change their approach. So what was true in his vision yesterday, somebody changed that vision or changed the rules, or maybe they gave him a deadline and he missed, the clock.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that that's kind of where some of this stuff is coming from. I'll never know because I'm not in any of those meetings, but it just seems like he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that'd be like, I'll glad you pay you Tuesday for my ham. No, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today kind of thing, and then be like, I forgot my wallet. Like I don't think
Right.
he's the kind of guy to just out of the blue change stuff or say stuff that at least when he intended it was planning to change it. Right behind those words. I think it was like, hey, this is the goal, this is the plan, and then somebody comes in, it's like, oh, you got to change this or you got to, adjust this type of thing. And then he wants to keep his job because, like, you could easily argue and you can only argue but so much with your boss before you might be out the
Mm-hmm.
door and out of a job, or you want to make sure you keep on getting that the salary and you kind of eat the crow that you put out there, and you make the best of what you have left kind of thing. So
Yeah. And to bring up 2 points. First point would be the fact that the purchase of ABK was really the first time I feel like we've seen Microsoft be involved with Xbox to this degree.
yeah.
Um and now I feel like they are very heavily involved with Xbox's business practices going forward because of how much I mean it's their profit and revenue and stuff has passed other Microsoft products now, with like LinkedIn and other things. So Microsoft is like, now you get Microsoft executives now sitting in the Xbox boardrooms. They're just like, all right, what are we talking about? What's Game Pass? You know, that's how I'm kind of picturing it. But I'm sure a degree of that is true.
Yeah.
And the second point is FTC. I made a post about this where putting 4 games on other platforms really helps their case if they want to make another purchase for another studio, which they already said they wanted to do. So it's not like a crazy thing. I'm sure they're working on it right now. But if they want to acquire another studio, you have to have some evidence that says like, hey, we in the past we've supported other platforms. Here are examples of that. Here is Sea of Thieves, a big game for us. We put that on another platform and look how well it did on PlayStation. We plan to do that with other platforms. But it's much better to control something, to own something, and decide whether what you want to do with it. I had someone on our Xbox Ultimate show the other night. He made a comment where he was kind of talking about how Xbox is dead now because they're putting games on other platforms and stuff. And a point I brought up to him was Xbox is choosing to put 4 games on other platforms, where PlayStation feels like they have to put games on other services like PC to survive. That's two different scenarios that they're in. Like Xbox is like, well, we got like 30 studios now. We bought ABK. What can we do here? How can we make even more money? That's a totally different mindset to have than to be like, well, dang, we Spider-Man cost $300 million. We're not making as much as we thought. Let's start putting stuff on other platforms to survive. That's two different mindsets. Xbox is in a position of power there for sure, where they could just make decisions like this, and then if they really want to, they don't have to do it again. They could be like, okay, 4 games didn't work out how we wanted it to, hurt our brand identity. We can hold our own and just put games on everywhere else, like PC, mobile. They can make that decision if they really want to. They already have Xbox puts more games on other platforms than any other platform holder right now. right? So it's not like crazy to think about, but I feel like people do need to look at it from a different lens. Like Xbox, Microsoft, they have a lot of money. And they have done very well with Game Pass and their services and stuff. So they are coming from a position where like, hey, let's see what we can do to push this industry a little bit more forward. I mean, we have PlayStation in court basically saying how much they relied on a game like Call of Duty. They don't own Call of Duty anymore. Or they didn't own them before, but they had deals with them, right? So let's get to some peeps in our chat, and we'll get to our finale topic. Poison Maniac says Disney license IPs and all royalties. Yeah, a lot of that. If you're talking about Spider-Man, yeah, a lot of that money goes to licensing IPs, and that's something we talked about in one of our shows. Was the last show? We kind of talked about like how licensed IPs are expensive as heck. Yeah. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, I think. Um,
No,
but yeah.
like they might be even going away. Like
Yeah.
EA is kind of pulling away from doing them. Just they look at the cost versus using their own IPs that it's probably better to go that route. And like something like FIFA wanted, I think it was like 2 billion,
Yeah.
and they were like, we'll just call it football club. And it sells almost as well or just as well. And I don't think they'll ever like now FIFA is probably going to want to come back to them and be like, hey, we want a piece of that pie. But eh, yeah, licensing, either the license holders are going to have to adjust because if these companies decide tomorrow that, well, we'll just work with our original IP, then they're out of the video game space at that point.
Right.
So then they might have to go shopping around like, well, we know we were charging like 30% or 35%. What if we only take 25% and there's no upfront cost? It's like we'll just take it the 25 off of the, off the top sales kind of thing.
Right.
That might be more favorable to these publishers at that point, and we might see more Star Wars or some more Marvel stuff after the fact, but I think after probably Spider-Man 3 and Wolverine, I wonder if Sony doesn't try to make their own superhero game that's like what's the one that's Activision title like Prototype or something like
Prototype.
that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't because they almost have that already with a Second Son, so
Yeah.
or Infamous I should say. Um they could go that route. Like although I know that's a Sucker Punch game, but that hey, Sucker Punch is now going to be our superhero studio and it's going to be our own IP. And Insomniac, we worked with Microsoft. They're okay with doing the Sunset Overdrive
Yeah.
and not having it on their platform. Or you know what? Maybe we'll put it on there a year later and let's make money off of Sunset Overdrive, or just make a something other than Ratchet and Clank, like Jack and Daxter or something like that
Yeah.
type of deal.
I feel
So
like they chose Ratchet and Clank just because they already make a previous one. I don't know. I have
yeah,
to.
they had like a one late in the PS3, and then I think there was a couple of early ones in PS4 time that it
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Yeah, we can do this pretty quick,
Yeah, for
pretty
sure.
quick.
I feel like that's why they essentially like, oh, we if they were gonna make a future Ratchet and Clank, because if you guys looked at the Insomniac leaked roadmap, they considered doing another Ratchet and Clank. I don't know if that's still the case or not, or if they're basically just a Marvel studio now. But
Mhm.
they already made one even more recently, so they could just take some of the assets, do a sequel. It's cheaper for them to do that, you would think. I mean, with Spider-Man 2,
Yeah,
I don't know, but you would think that's a lot cheaper to do. Couple things in the chat, and actually we will close out, but he said, what happened with Steel? I think Poison said that somewhere.
yeah,
Basically what happened was life happened.
yeah.
He got too busy. Things just didn't line up, so I'm sure he'll be a guest on the show or something like that, but he just realized he couldn't do it. So that's essentially what happened. I guess that was pretty easy actually. Yeah, this life happened. But yeah, he's always welcome on the show whenever he wants to hop on. For sure. Tom, Disney is the reason I'll never get to save seven the next Republic Commando. Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. This is the last point I guess I'll make on like licensed IPs. I think Disney, I don't know. I feel like they need to do more licensed IPs, but I feel like they are very expensive, right? Especially what we've seen with Spider. I don't know if Spider-Man is a special case or what, but EA is just finding out. They're like, how much money are we spending on just the licenses? Like, oh, like 100 million. How much is production? Oh, that's a lot that we're losing. Let's not do that anymore. So, and not just Marvel, I guess, but licensed IPs in general. Like they FIFA was like, nope, that's a lot of money. They didn't want to renew it. I think something happened with the communication with even FIFA and EA. Decided it's not worth it. So we'll see what happens with licensed IPs in the future. Xbox, I feel like they haven't done a lot of them, so maybe Blade is like their test ground in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I can't really think of another Xbox title that's a licensed
Just
IP.
the Indiana Jones that's coming, but that was like because Bethesda, made that deal
Mm,
beforehand, before the acquisition.
yeah.
But that hey, that's going to be their first true test, and it from the developer direct, it created enough buzz that I think they found a path forward, and Blade is like they probably realized that with Bethesda making this that they would probably have good feedback, and they were like, you know what? Oh, and Arcane is amped for it. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do this, and but I think his name is what, Bubka or something like that, or
Mm,
Bobka. He probably came up with this whole pitch, and yeah, like they said, they were sold on it. So it's
yeah.
like it fits the type of game that studio is used to making, or at least that division of that studio, with their a lot of the what do you call them? What's their stealth game? Oh my God, I'm having a
Uh,
brain fart.
Dishonored or
Yeah, Dishonored.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder what was in that pitch meeting. It does make you wonder, but yeah, I guess Xbox right now, from licensed IP standpoint, they're doing Indiana Jones and they're doing Blade. Um, but yeah, you're right. Technically, Indiana Jones was a case where Howard was already kind of pitching that game, and it was a game he's wanted to do a long time before Xbox acquired him and, and stuff like that. I'm excited for Indiana Jones. I feel like that's going to be a special game. It did stay away from the third person argument, and hey,
Mhm.
a lot of people was mad that was first person because you could get motion sick. That's the thing. I won't even get
Yeah.
I won't get into that argument. But yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, I'm glad it's in first person. That studio is super talented. You got Mav in the chat. He said, Fuzzy, hey, you met Michael Ironside. I'll never forgive you for not taking me with you. Sam Fisher. Yeah, Sam Fisher.
I
Um,
did. I honestly did not know until the night before. I just knew we were going to a horror con kind of thing. And when my wife told me some of the people that were going to be there, and I was like, oh, all right, Peggy Bundy. And then I was like, oh, I'm not paying those prices for the signature. And then I saw a few others, and I was like, wait, Michael Ironside's there? She was like, yeah, he's here. All right, that's the only one I'm going to. I'm
yeah,
like, I'm good.
you
I
can't
I
just
forgot
say
the other
say it
guy that was
casually.
there. Yeah, that like the other guy. There was another guy that did like Johnny Cage, and he was in Starship Troopers along with Ironside. But I I was like, you know what? I'll just get Ironside because like Splinter Cell. I mean, it it would be so cool if there is eventually some sort of like Starship Troopers official, like, collab with Helldivers or something.
Yeah,
But
basic.
yeah, I was like, nope, that's the guy I want the autograph and picture with. Like that, like I said, I didn't know until the night before, and I'm sorry.
So cool. So cool. All right, well, that is it for the show. Everyone dropping in as soon as we end it. Like, man, gosh. But no, I appreciate you guys for dropping on by. If you guys agreed with us, let us know in the comment section down below. Or if you didn't agree with us, still put a comment
Yeah.
down below what you didn't agree with. What we could have improved on. So don't forget to subscribe for more content from the Pixelated Echoes. Um, Fuzzy, where can we find you, man?
Oh, as always, thank you so much for having me on. This is awesome to be on here with you. Thanks to everybody in the chat for joining us. Greatly appreciate it. Um, Sorry I didn't do as many replies, but man, it's just so awesome, seeing you guys at this show and other shows, and even on Twitter and laughing at some of my jokes and stuff. But yeah, for those that like hearing my rambles and rants on stuff or just anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Xbox Lunch Break Special, 12 noon tomorrow afternoon on Double Barrel Gaming or Mr. Boomstick's channel. And then later in the evening, right on FSP on Mav's channel, Fun Speculation Network, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there. And then Shop Podcast Saturdays, time change. It's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern on PT Gabe Blam's channel. And then right back here next Sunday. Hope to see you guys, 8 o'clock. Same channel, same time. Look forward to seeing you guys again. Thanks again.
Yes. Kate is in the chat saying, I didn't agree with anything 3-bit said. Oh, well, that's okay. It's okay, Kate. And Psycho said, go 3 more hours. Listen, I wish I could. I got some stuff to do. Life is hitting. And Poison saying, did I finish the vid? Listen, there is no video. There is like three kilobytes of video space, I believe. So listen, next week, be sure to tune in. I believe we have a special guest next Sunday. You guys are gonna want to tune in for that one. That's all I will say. And I know I feel like we were just warming up too, but yeah, I wish we could go longer. That one will be a longer show. So if you guys did like the show, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Everybody in here who are watching, leave your like on the way out. Helps us. Love y'all. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Pixelated Echoes. I don't want to end it. I don't want to end it. I got to. All right.
All right.
All
Later,
right.
guys.
Love y'all. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye.